Well, y'all want to get into basketball talk or get y'all's wake up Austin a little bit since he said he was falling asleep. He was going to fall asleep earlier. Maybe he'll wake up now. And, once you hear the word basketball, Austin just springs up just like whenever he gets off shift at McDonald's.
God.
I just go back to sleep. I like sleeping better.
Did y'all get a new grease fryer for Christmas up there?
Hey, Fisher, if you're listening, we need
Come
you back
back.
because I need the Mississippi jokes back.
Hey guys, it's Terrence Nan. You're listening to Hear the Spear presented by No Game Day. Go Noles.
Hey, what's up? This is Peter Ward, a.k.a. E-Dub, in the house. So we're listening to Hear the Spear, presented by No Game Day. Go live, go Noles.
Hi, this is Charlie Ward, and you're listening to Hear the Spear. Go Noles.
This is Terrell Buckley. You're listening to Hear the Spear, presented by No Game Day. No Bloody.
But perhaps better known as the greatest corner to ever step on a football field, Deion Primetime Sanders.
Great Deion Sanders, my brother. What's going on, man? I could wake up to that greeting every day, man. That was awesome.
Hello, Noles fans. This is former Seminole Derek Brooks, and you're listening to Hear the Spear, presented to you by No Game Day.
James Wilder Jr. What's going on, James?
Thanks for having me on. SSOD, Florida State or Die, and go Noles.
William Bar None Floyd.
Gentlemen, what's up?
What's happening, guys? This is Logan from Hear the Spear, presented to you by Noel Game Day. We are recording our final episode, our 32nd episode of the year 2019. I'm going to be joined by our lead writer, Dustin Lewis, and our lead basketball writer, Austin Beasy, previewing the bowl game that Florida State will be facing on Tuesday against Arizona State. We'll be talking a little bit about basketball too, and also our favorite plays from the decade, our favorite players, favorite moments, and then kind of like the evolution of college football, maybe these last 10 years and all kinds of stuff to finish off our last season. This will be our season 3 of Hear the Spear. But to get started, let's say what's up to the guys on the other lines on Skype here. What's going on, Dustin? What's going on, Austin?
What's up? How's it going, guys? Did you guys have a Merry Christmas?
Yeah, happy holidays, everybody. It's almost New Year's. Hope you guys are doing well.
Yes, I had a pretty good Christmas. I was very relaxed, which I enjoyed. I really needed some relaxation this year and spent some time with family and had like a good brunch and opened up some presents. Y'all get any good presents?
Yeah, I got some cool. I got some cool
Golly,
stuff.
don't sound too excited.
Yeah, I got
was gonna
tickets
let
for the
Austin-
Mavericks Hornets game, but that was about it.
You got what?
Tickets for the Mavericks Hornets game.
Oh,
up here.
okay. Okay, sweet deal. Sweet deal.
I got some cool sports memorabilia. I got a signed basketball from Leonard Hamilton and Sue Simrau, so that was pretty cool.
Oh, sweet.
And then my girlfriend got me a signed Paul Pierce poster and a Marcus Smart basketball. So I have some stuff I need to put up.
She knows you real well.
Yeah, apparently.
Well, because
Yeah, I
you
mean,
watch
she
every
nailed it.
you watch every basketball game, and definitely the Celtics game every day that one is on. So she probably knows you pretty good because it's right in front of her in that TV in there.
Yeah, it's not that hard to figure out.
No, you're pretty easy. I think, let's see, my favorite thing that I received, maybe $100 Walmart gift card would have to
That's
be
not
my
bad.
pick.
It's not bad.
I'm a big Walmart fan. I am a cheap bastard. If anybody knows me, I know both of these two do because they complain about me not giving likes to them. But I'm very cheap. I budget I'm proud of myself. I budget very well, I feel like.
So my question is, what is that $100 going to go towards at Walmart? What are you going to be buying?
Well, see, the thing, I think what's more important is that it's probably going to last me like a whole month and a half on groceries. That's gonna last me a long time. Some people spend $100 like every 2 weeks or a week. I spend that. I can budget that to where it could last me a month at least, which I think is pretty impressive. But I usually like whole milk, which I'm drinking right now. I guarantee will be a couple 24 packs of Natty Ice. And probably I love Yum Yum sauce. So just Yum Yum sauce, whole milk, and 24 pack of Natty Ice. A lot of 24 packs of Natty
That
Ice.
is an odd item list to check out with.
That's the college diet of champions.
It is. And if nobody has watched our Instagram lives, they've probably, if you have seen them though, you would probably see my wall in here that's inside of our game room, and it's all Natty Ice on the walls here. And I actually cut up some more boxes earlier today, so I'll be putting those up on the wall. Fun times.
Jesus.
So this is going to be our 32nd episode of the year. This is crazy. I know I wish we could have had him on. I know Fisher's busy, but Fisher was on here for the most majority of it, the first half at least. And we've had multiple guests on. We've hosted 3 Super Bowl champions, 6 national champions, an NFL Hall of Famer, a College Football Hall of Famer, an FSU Hall of Famer, and it's been incredible. And that's just a few of the guys. We've had other guys on here too that have been incredible, and we definitely appreciate them coming on. And if you haven't, definitely go listen to them, because I think some of those interviews too can still play a part. And then getting to know Terrell Buckley, Derek Brooks. We had Nooney Murray on also, which I actually really enjoyed having him come on and talk, because he was able to talk about the shift from Jimbo Fisher to Willie Taggart. Bryant McFadden, Jacoby McDaniel, Freddie Stevenson, Terrence Mann, PJ Savoy, Luke Laux, who's currently with the Golden State Warriors, helping out their team. We've had on a lot.
We even had on Tashawn Reed, so I mean, even stretching to media a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
full array of guests, Peach,
exactly.
Fans.
Yep. It was nice. So we had definitely a different mix of guests on this year, which I think is nice. We might look and try to do a little bit more of that next season. This is our 3rd year running a podcast at Noel Game Day, and we definitely appreciate you guys listening. And hopefully, I enjoy it. We kind of come on here whenever we have the time. It's 11:30 right now at night, and we're all, or at least 2 of us are in college, and Austin's got job duties all over the place. McDonald's is busy this time.
Oh my God, do it.
I can't escape it.
Do it.
I can't escape it.
I knew it was coming.
But yeah, I know everybody else will say the same, but I greatly appreciate you guys coming on here and listening to us. It just amazes me that the amount of people that actually listen to us for over 20 minutes even. And I know it surprises the guys too whenever we look at the stats and stuff, but we definitely are appreciative of you guys giving us a chance. And we're really excited about where we can take the podcast and the guests that we'll have on next year, because we're going to try to always do it bigger and better than the year before. And I feel really happy about this year. How about you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just some of the Seminole greats we got to talk to, some of the recent players. It's very exciting to get to hear their experiences at Florida State and what they went through, how their lives are currently going. So, I mean, yeah, it's especially awesome from our end, growing up as Florida State fans and now getting to talk to all these great players that went through the university. So, yeah, I love pretending to be media. That's pretty much what it's like. I mean, being a Florida State fan and now getting to talk to these guys, it's like, dang, I almost feel like I'm pretending to be media and not a fan at most points. And that's what makes it so fun to come on here and talk to them.
Yeah.
And the best part is we can only keep growing and keep getting better. Hopefully this next year we'll be able to bring in even better guests.
Yeah. It's been incredible. And I think the main part for us is that we're all young in this covering Florida State, and being able to have opportunities to interview, having Derek Brooks on the line, having Terrell Buckley, names like that. I mean, having Derek Brooks on it just hits different. And, telling my dad and all that kind of stuff, who I heard Derek Brooks' name all the time, was just insane. And be able to hear backstories of him and Bobby Bowden. I mean, it's special, and we should be very grateful for the opportunity that we get. So we're looking forward to a great season next year on Hear the Spear. And I'm excited. But yeah, let's jump into who our favorite guests were, if we want to name that real quick. Anybody have theirs that they want to jump out and say?
I'll let Dustin go first. He's the vet.
The vet. Yeah, this is actually before Austin came on the podcast, but I think my favorite one was getting to talk to Terrence Mann. It was right when he was actually up at the NBA Combine, right after he earned his invitation after dominating at the G League Showcase. And yeah, he talked to us while he was in Chicago. Just kind of talked about his career at Florida State, and I mean, getting to hear that from Terrence Mann, who I would say is arguably probably the most accomplished player to come through Florida State now. He'll go down as, in my opinion, the best basketball player to play at Florida State because, from the time he came in, that was when FSU was struggling. And then over his career, the Seminoles steadily took some steps and then ended up in the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 by the time he had graduated. So really, to me, Terrence was huge behind the entire culture change of Florida State basketball these last couple years. So getting to hear about those experiences, and then shortly after getting to see him drafted into the NBA with the Clippers and how he's doing up in Los Angeles, really, that was just a really awesome episode, and seeing him keep it going is amazing as well.
Yeah, and for mine, choosing my favorite guest, I wanted to choose one that I was actually a part of, so it was between PJ Savoy and Carlos Williams. And Carlos was great, but I'm obviously going to go with my guy PJ. It's always great to catch up with my boy from Vegas, even if he cheers for the wrong NFL team. Sorry, PJ. But it's always great catching up with him, and we had some great memories from Florida State and being around each other for 3 years. And yeah, I would have to say PJ Savoy.
For mine, it's tough because there's two big names on there, and there's a guy that really is going to be on radio. He should be later on, but that would be Carlos Williams. I always enjoy having him. I think we had him on for 2 times this year, and he's just so easy to talk to. He gives you more info than you ask for, and that's just what you want for content. And running through stories of his time at Florida State was great, and he can talk about everything that you want to talk about. Just give him a topic, and he'll run through it. And he always enjoys coming on here, and he's awesome. And then I think one that just actually, there's some guests on here that you'll maybe get a little bit nervous for, or have some nerves. And now it's probably Derek Brooks. Getting him on a call and speaking to one of the best linebackers in the NFL ever. He was just named to the top, the NFL's 100 team as one of the best linebackers ever to play this sport. Was insane, and he was great. He told us the story of Bobby Bowden and his grades and his mama getting onto him. That was probably one of my favorite stories of the year. That was hilarious. And then the podcast, our first episode of the year was with Terrell Buckley. Fisher got this and worked out for us to have Terrell Buckley from Mississippi State, the DB coach there, and obviously a Florida State legend and an NFL guy, come on and talk with us. And I thought he was just very informative, and it just seemed like just so easy to talk to. And those are probably my 3. There's so many that we had, which is crazy, but yeah, that's probably.
And plus, I mean, they were both just so accessible, really, because I'm pretty sure whenever we talked to Terrell Buckley, he was actually out on the road recruiting when he took the time to do the podcast. And then Derek Brooks, I remember him telling us before we started recording, he had just finished doing a thing with NFL Films right before coming on the podcast. I mean, he went from doing an interview to come right on the pod and talking for 45, 50 minutes and having a good time with us, which, I mean, we really appreciate it. I mean, it just shows that, these guys are human just like us, even though they're Florida State legends, and they were honestly really easy to talk to and opened up for the show, which, I mean, it's awesome.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And and going back to us being so young, we're still learning. I learned so much more when we have these guys, these men on here. And I always heard stories from my dad and family members about these certain players, but being able to have them on here and talk with us and be able to ask our own questions to learn, and hopefully listeners will also learn these stories and stuff is incredible. And I'm thankful on my own end for the opportunity that we get. Let's see what else we got here. So we already went over favorite guest. Let's go over our favorite memory of the year, since this is going to be the last episode of 2019, and it's been, at least football-wise, all over the place. Once again, it feels like. Feels like the whole Jimbo Fisher and him leaving kind of scenario where now Willie Taggart's gone, and it's just wild and nuts. But what was y'all's favorite memory from 2019? Because I feel like there's a lot of stuff that's happened, but it's gone by quickly for some reason.
I mean, that's just how I feel like that's how it goes every year. Every year is just getting quicker and quicker. It's just unbelievable. But yeah, I mean, really for me, I'd have to go more basketball just because of how football has struggled. And I think the best moment in 2019 for me was Terrence Mann and Fiondu Kabengele getting drafted by the Clippers, and now seeing their careers in the NBA after what they did at Florida State. So that's what I picked.
Yeah, for me, it was a wild year. Obviously, personally, I graduated college, and that's a huge accomplishment. And then there's the Virginia Tech game, well, both Virginia Tech games in basketball. But my favorite memory, at least the one I know is going to stick out for me throughout the rest of my life, is the Murray State game in the tournament, which was the game after Phil Kofer's dad had died. And we were all in the locker room for that. And I know that that part obviously isn't my favorite memory, but seeing the way the team responded and the family environment and the brotherhood, and from the coaching staff all the way down to us at the managers and the athletic trainers, that game, there was no way we were going to lose that game. And we came out and steamrolled them. It was such a great game, and to see those guys be there for Phil, it was really neat. And I would say that's going to be definitely the memory that's going to stick with me the most, and probably my favorite memory as well.
Yeah, wow. I mean, it had to have been incredible being in that locker room, too. Can imagine the feels. For me, it's crazy. I don't think we're going to go 0-3 and not have any football favorite memory.
It's hard to have a favorite memory.
Yeah, it's very
You could say Taggart being fired.
Well, that was
probably
going
to be
to be
generous.
Dustin, don't worry. Dustin said that in the pre-show meeting. So, for me, it's going to go baseball, and I'm going to go from Mike Martin's win over LSU at LSU to clinch a spot in the College World Series. I felt some emotions that night. I think all of Tallahassee and a lot of people that cover baseball and are just like sports in general, and seeing the story there, I think was incredible, and how much attention it got, and well-deserved, a world-renowned name in college baseball. In his final season, everyone knows he's retiring, gets to clinch his final College World Series run at LSU and walk-off fashion. It was incredible. I just watched a video of it today. We had Brett, who used to cover baseball for us. He put the video out, and that reminded me how special that was. And I just remember watching the video nonstop on Twitter of them celebrating, and then him hitting the ball bucket and say, we're going to the College World Series or something like that. But it was incredible. I'm looking at Twitter here. Sorry, this is so random, but Coach Dillingham tweeted, "And some of you thought Christmas was over!" !
Ooh.
Present in the AM. Go Noles. Interesting. We'll keep an eye on that. We're recording this what day is it? Friday
night.
Before all the college football playoffs is going on. Yeah. So yeah, that's interesting. The new offensive coordinator for Florida State has a little sneaky tweet putting out. All right. So this is 2010 to 2020 now. We're getting ready to end the decade. What was y'all's favorite memory what was y'all's favorite play from the decade? It can be basketball, football, baseball, soccer, but I don't think a lot of us on here are soccer peeps.
I'll start with PJ Savoy's shot against Xavier to send us to the Sweet 16. Just because from being in the locker room the year before after Xavier stomped us in Orlando, and seeing the emotions in that locker room to the emotions the next year after we beat them, that I remember where I was when that shot went in. I remember rushing on the court after the game. I remember that locker room going crazy. Yeah, definitely the PJ Savoy shot.
This one's outside of being able to see Jameis Winston and Dalvin Cook just dominate during their careers in Tallahassee. This is probably just an underrated play, but 2015 FSU at Boston College, Everett Golson as quarterback, and Florida State ran a reverse, and Golson just knocked out the Boston College defensive end. Like, legit knocked him out, and they had to take him off the field, and he got knocked out of the game with a concussion. So that was just an amazing play to see, a quarterback knocking out a defensive end. And, I mean, to that point, also, I remember Jameis Winston having some pretty crazy blocks during his career, running downfield in front of running backs and taking out defensive backs to set guys up for touchdowns. So really just being able to see quarterbacks go out there and lay their body out on the line to put out a huge block for their teammates when typically you see the quarterback hand the ball off and back up out of the play.
Mm-hmm. That's a pretty good one. Mine's going to be, and I'm going to pick a popular one here, but I think the fact that I was there, it just hits more. It was the Kermit Whitfield return in Pasadena for the touchdown. I think it hits even more because we were sitting on the FSU side of the stadium, and we were it was 30-70 really. I mean, there were so many Auburn fans there. It was incredible. But FSU kind of had its corner there. And we were really worried during halftime, and people's phones were already dead and stuff. It was just really, you're just there in the moment because you were tailgating at 8 a.m. and all throughout the day, and people were just taking pictures. So nobody's phone was on. But by halftime, you were just sitting there talking with one another, and FSU was struggling, and you really weren't in that situation whatsoever during the season. So you were wondering if Florida State and Jameis Winston and Jimbo Fisher were going to be able to do this. And then later on in the game, coming back, Kermit Whitfield puts Florida State into the game, and him running from left to right. I mean, that whole side of the stadium where we were just went nuts. And I'm seeing adults like my dad, just seeing my dad and seeing how happy he was, acting like a 14-year-old, like yelling and jumping up and down was incredible. And I think also the last play, Telvin Smith getting the tackle at the end, seeing the ball come out, which was actually a fumble at the end of the game against Auburn, but just sealing it up and being national champions and just people being so excited. I think it was, and watching the Florida State sideline just run across the field, it was nuts. It was a beautiful night, but that was probably my favorite play from the decade was Kermit Whitfield's return with Carlos Williams right behind him too. How about? Go ahead.
Just to interject here quickly, I think I found out what Dillingham's tweet is about. Looks like FIU grad transfer offensive tackle Devontae Taylor could be headed to Florida State. He actually just entered the transfer portal yesterday. So quick work by Florida State. That might be the surprise we get in the morning. So we'll see. One of his recent follows on Twitter.
Isn't it now crazy and funny that your eyes light up whenever you hear offensive tackle? Fans are actually so ecstatic to hear that they're getting an offensive tackle or a talented one too. It's just the way this decade has been for Florida State. Need offensive linemen badly. Let's see. Favorite player from the 2010 to 2020 decade.
I feel like I'm cheating here, but I'm gonna go with an easy one, and that's gotta be Jameis. I mean, for me, just to see him come into Florida State, redshirt that first year, and then just come out as a true freshman and light up the entire country. Florida State really doesn't have many. I mean, I think the closest game in the regular season was the 14-point win over Boston College or so. So, I mean, really just see Florida State absolutely dominate. Jameis is sitting down by halftime a lot of the times, just hanging out.
Yeah.
Seeing him get to lift the Heisman Trophy in New York. That was amazing. And then also him coming back to lead Florida State on that just historic winning streak that, unfortunately ended in the playoffs to Oregon. And then also seeing him go number 1 in the draft and now playing for the Bucks every Sunday. Obviously mixed reviews from there. But, I mean, watching Jameis, I remember seeing him commit on TV to Florida State, and I was like, holy crap, like this guy's going to be amazing. But never did I think it would turn into what it actually turned into for Jameis Winston. So just rewarding to watch him over these past 7 or so years.
For me, it's tough. Obviously, working with Florida State basketball, I'm not going to choose any of those guys that I worked with because I'd really be playing favorites. I don't want to make anyone mad. I want to go basketball and go Bernard James because he's what really got me into Florida State basketball, and that whole team did.
Yeah.
I could go there, and if I went football, oh God, Telvin Smith or Dalvin. Just those two, they encapsulated what Florida State is so much, especially Telvin. He was such a dog, barking on every play, but he backed it up. He backed it up with his play, and he was going to be there every single way, and he was going to be in your face about it. I would say either Bernard James or Telvin Smith.
Ooh, this one for me, well, my favorite player ever from Florida State was always Leon Washington, and that was obviously from the decade before. So this one is still my favorite player now. It kind of changed. It's either Leon Washington or I always go Timmy Jernigan. So my favorite players, I'm going to stick with it, Timmy Jernigan. And it's not a big name. It's not a huge name, but just the way I wore number 8 in high school because of him. I also had the crop top rocking too. He actually had a lot more meat on him than I did. He had a belly. I didn't really have a belly in high school. But I just liked the personality he had on the field. Loco Ocho, twirling his hands around the helmet. He was nasty motherfucker, man. And I just liked the way he talked to media. And he's always had that he just does what he wants to do. And, he went to the national championship and played, I think, with the flu or some really nasty sickness. And he played his heart out. He hated having to take some snaps off, but he hit, and plus his hits too. And I remember watching a game against UF, and it was in 2013 in Gainesville. The play was kind of over. They hadn't whistled really yet, but an offensive lineman, I think Telvin Smith had picked up a fumble. It really wasn't ruled a fumble, but they were acting like they were going to go take it back to the house. And Timmy Jernigan just looks around and looks for somebody to hit, and he just nails a 320-pound offensive lineman and puts him on his ass for no reason. And the guy's like, "What? What did I do?" And Timmy Jernigan's always just been nasty. I like guys like that. So it's probably gonna be Timmy Jernigan, but I gotta give some love also to one of the best running backs, or the best running back that went to FSU, and Dalvin Cook. Just being able to see him in the stands and see that, and always hearing stories from my parents and all the FSU fans that are older than us talk about work done and how incredible he was, but then hear them also say, man, Dalvin Cook might be on a different gear. We got to be a little bit more appreciative of what we saw in person with Dalvin Cook during this decade at Florida State. Let's see what we got here. I think that's pretty much it, unless y'all have any more ideas of things from this decade. Any favorite games of the decade? I think I have mine, and that's going to be 2013 in Clemson. I went there with my family, and we stayed in a cabin. It was nice, beautiful, and then we went over, and I was really, really worried about that game. This was number 3 versus number 5. Clemson was ranked number 3 in the country. We were FSU was 5, and we were always up in the nosebleeds there, and you're looking straight down. It's terrible. It's scary. I hate heights. But we were there, and after Florida State's first series on defense, being able to pick off Taj Boyd there, and that crowd was unbelievable before that happened, and then just watching it slowly die off, and Florida State absolutely annihilating Clemson, and Jameis doing what Jameis was doing. That was really his game to show the nation about who he really was. Nobody really knew nationwide who he was until that game. And then I knew that Florida State was going to go to the ACC championship. They weren't gonna. I said they're just not gonna lose a game this year. I'm not worried. Jameis Winston is that quarterback. That game right there is probably my favorite of the decade. It was incredible.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's a good one as any. I was in the stands for that one too. First and only road game that I've ever attended, so perhaps I should travel a little bit more to watch Florida State play. But yeah, I mean, it's just so tough. It's hard to pick one game because I mean, my favorite moment was that winning streak that Florida State went on from 2013 to 14. Really 2014 particularly, just from all the moments that they had to overcome. So I guess if I had to pick one, it'd be that Louisville game, down 21-0 on a Thursday night. I remember sitting on my couch, me and my dad, and we're like, man, so I guess this is finally where Florida State gets caught this year. Because I mean, you guys remember how close it was. They barely escaped Notre Dame. I mean, they even barely escaped Oklahoma State, Miami. Just so many games that Florida State probably should have lost that year, and instead they end up undefeated and in the playoff. But that Louisville game, down 3 scores, and then Florida State just fights back. Ermon Lane catches a pass that I swear disappeared in midair and then reappeared in his hands. And then Dalvin Cook ices it with a long touchdown run. So, yeah, that was just an incredible night to be a Florida State football fan with the adversity they had overcome. Nick O'Leary suplexing a guy and forcing a fumble. Jameis Winston throwing an interception to start the third quarter, then forcing the fumble and getting it back from the guy he had just thrown the pick to. I mean, just so many crazy moments in that one.
Yeah, that was a wild game.
And I want to choose a game I attended just because I was narrowed down a little bit. I'm going to go the Florida State basketball game in 2017 when we played down there in the O-Dome. Florida was ranked 5th. Florida State was unranked. Florida came in cocky off a very good tournament in the Nike tournament. I think it was the PK80 tournament. Florida State just came in there and ransacked them. Just the first half was a little close, and the second half it blew it away. There were so many great plays. MJ Walker lob to Phil. Ike grabbing the offensive rebound, pivoting, and slamming over another Florida defender. Florida was ice cold from 3. Florida State started hitting everything. The rowdy reptiles were never rowdy in the entire game. They were lame, just sat there, didn't say anything. And by the end of the game, the war chant was singing through the rafters, and it was beautiful. And I will never forget that game for the rest of my life. It was just such a fun game, being able to show it to at least some of the country, if they weren't all watching, that, hey, Florida State basketball is here. Last season was not a fluke.
I will also say the 2013 National Championship was also a pretty decent one, too. Just very, very grateful. A lot to be grateful for. I know it's rough times right now for Florida State football as a whole, but there's so many other teams, too, sports-wise. Basketball is doing great, but, Florida State fans, y'all, football-wise, y'all were pretty damn spoiled for a good amount of years. So it will take some time, and, we're going to get into a little bit now. More current state of Florida State. Hopefully it's starting to head into the right direction. So, some hot hitters of the week. Start off right now. Corey Durden is most likely making a return to Florida State in 2020. He put out a tweet saying, "Let's get to work," and he tagged Coach Norvell in that. This is going to be a guy that's going to go as a senior returning to Florida State and is going to help in the
redshirt junior,
my bad. Redshirt junior coming back and is going to help a lot into the interior defensive line and is big for Florida State. There was some thoughts maybe during the middle of the season that he would want to maybe look at going into the NFL draft or going in the pros of some sort, but this is good news for Florida State heading into 2020 with their redshirt junior coming back for the Noles.
Yeah, I mean it's really big for Florida State. I mean, with Marvin Wilson likely heading to the NFL, he hasn't put out an official announcement, but most likely heading to the NFL. It's really big to get back Corey Durden, who started alongside Wilson for much of the year. So really next year, looking at Corey Durden and Robert Cooper in the interior, and then they still need to develop the depth behind those guys a little bit, and maybe sign another defensive tackle before this recruiting class is over. But it just really helps the Florida State defense next year to have another veteran back. And obviously, it could help Durden as well with his stock going forward. I think really he was probably a max fifth round guy going into the 2020 NFL draft. But if he comes back and has a standout redshirt junior season, I mean, he could play his way probably into the second or third round, depending on how good of a year he has.
Yeah, I agree. We really needed some defensive tackle depth back, and having Durden back is huge. He's played pretty well this season. He's had a couple moments where he's had some mind lapses and hasn't played with full effort, but when he's played with full effort, he's been really great. I think him next to Robert Cooper for next season is gonna bring some havoc.
Another guy now that has made an announcement, and we were kind of contemplating if this would be the case. Stanford Samuel's a third FSU legacy. Noel is going to be heading or try to work on training for the NFL draft. He has had kind of a rough career, but he's had a tough season also this year at Florida State. A lot of fans and people covering the team are kind of a little surprised by this. I don't know if you guys are on the same page as those people.
Yeah, I was definitely caught off guard. For me, I think of it as I know we talked a little bit in the pre-podcast show about how the coaches told Jeff Sims, "Hey, we're going to be recruiting more guys than just you." And they told Akovich that, "Hey, we don't necessarily want you." And they probably told Samuels the same thing. And it just made more sense for him to try and train for the draft and see what he can do that way. I think he has more chance than Alex Hornibrook does. But yeah, I think it was just the coaches saying we're not all in on you if you want to test the waters on yourself.
Yeah, like Austin said, I'm sure by this point the Mike Norvell and the staff member he has in place have been evaluating this roster, probably talking with players, letting them know that, hey, you might not necessarily be a fit for this new defensive scheme we're bringing in or new offensive scheme we're coming in. So, I mean, we're certainly going to see some guys transfer. I mean, I guess in Stanford, Samuels plays declare for the NFL draft. Kind of a puzzling decision. I think maybe it would have been better for him to grad transfer for his final year and play somewhere else. I mean, maybe go join Jimbo Fisher in College Station. But, I mean, really just him declaring for the NFL draft, I don't really see any way he gets drafted at this point. In my opinion, I mean, I don't think he was very good this year. He got picked on a lot. I mean, a lot of the Florida State defense did, really. But Samuels also has some issues. I mean, he'll commit unnecessary personal fouls, and he has a little bit of an attitude. So, I mean, in the end, this might be better for Florida State with him moving on. And, yeah, I mean, he's going to have to play his way probably through the undrafted free agent process. I don't think he's going to get a combine invite necessarily. And I don't see him getting drafted with where his game is currently at.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Best of luck to him, too, most certainly. And main thing with this, too, I'm seeing a lot when it goes back to before early national signing day with Jeff Sims, but Mike Norvell seems to be a coach that will tell you straight up. He doesn't want to lie to you. He's going to tell you what you should expect, and he wants to help you out in your future. If that's the case and what Dustin brought up, then I think that's a different kind of coach than what you had before, and maybe even before that with Jimbo Fisher. It'll be interesting change there inside that locker room and as a team as a whole with Norvell being there, and just telling guys straight up what it's going to be, what you should expect, and hopefully that'll help guys make better and smarter decisions, and we'll see if that works out. And one thing that's been a big topic and I kind of wanted to go over this to recap the decade too, was the difference and how teams are and the way they present themselves, and also as a brand and social media and digital media. And Florida State's has struggled the last couple of years. It's struggled a lot in the last 2 years under Taggart. This also goes to not just what Coach Taggart brings on board, but also what Florida State's administration does. If you look at other teams like Clemson, which was really the first one that really made a focus, actually putting a whole team together on the side to do social media, video editing, graphic design, digital media, vlogging, even any ways to get their brand out there more, and that boosted them in a lot of ways in their recruiting, and they surpassed Florida State with ease now. And that was a big start there. And now there's teams like Ohio State, which is one of my favorites, that has one of the best graphic design team in the country. And then there's also LSU, who has had a gigantic year with putting out video edits, putting music out there that recruits listen to, that players listen to, and it gets millions and millions of views. And of course, Clemson, Ohio State, LSU are also in the playoffs this year, and it just goes to show you how big it is to have social media and digital media. Because even Oklahoma is doing certain things too. They just put out a video of now they're opening up little stores across the country. They put out a video edit of that, of where fans can go in there and I think look at Oklahoma memorabilia and all different kinds of things. It's just this whole decade is just so focused on social media, and Florida State has been very tough and has lacked that in a lot of ways, and they've also embarrassed themselves nationally. We're not just talking just outlets covering Florida State and Tallahassee, but nationally on well-respected sites across the world.
Yeah, I mean, I think ESPN has been camped out in Tallahassee ever since the Jameis Winston investigations back in 2013. Because, I mean, I swear the hour of the that Martin Luther King Jr. graphic going out, which, I mean, obviously got so much attention nationally. ESPN already had an article up on the site, pretty much just roasting Florida State. So, yeah, they've had some interesting moments, both with graphics and with their tweets as well. I mean, obviously, I'm pretty sure they fired the social media handler from last season, and
Yep.
Yeah, the graphics have been great. We've seen the Yoda meme recently, which I'm pretty sure one of our graphic designers made something 10 times better than that in an hour or so. And yeah, I mean they've had some really puzzling posts. And you look at other teams, one that comes to my mind just because I saw it recently was LSU and that video of Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
With Burrow spelled the Louisiana way, I guess you would say it, on the back of his jersey, and walking out for a senior day. And just that video behind him, I mean, the quality of that was absolutely insane. The production that went into that, I mean, it was
and
crazy.
A little boozy, baby.
I mean,
set it
and
off.
A little boozy. 4-8. We got swag surfing, so. But
it's just this generation we're in now, where people are always looking at their phones, they're always surfing the internet, and when they say cool things, they want to stop and look at it. And when they say things that aren't as cool, like Florida State and Martin Luther King, yeah, they're going to spend time roasting it. You don't want to keep ending up on the bad ends of things. That's how you're going to lose out on a recruit here or there. Obviously, those aren't the recruits you want. They're worried more about their social media image than their on-field image, but it's just how we're growing up these days and how kids are. They spend so much time on their phones, and we're all guilty of it as I'm recording on my phone. It's just the way it is these days, and everything's it's just at our hands, and it's so easy to access nowadays, and sadly Florida State hasn't caught up.
Yeah, and I feel like they were in it. They were in the game back in 2013 and 2014, and then it started falling apart. And Clemson figured it out, like I had mentioned earlier. And recruits, I've seen multiple interviews and articles talking about how recruits would look at Clemson and see their social media everywhere. And they would see the production, they would see that logo, and add that with the amount of mail they would receive too. I mean, that just keeps that logo, and it keeps that brand name in your head a lot, and it plays a big role in it. And it also, the Clemson does vlogging, and Dabo Sweeney will pick up the camera and he'll talk to you, and it also gives fans a pretty interesting point of view inside, gives you a feel of what Clemson is doing on the behind the scenes, that maybe if they're boosters, what they're putting money in towards. And Florida State has got to figure something out, because this next decade is going to be just freaking gigantic. And I'm just been a social media freak. This is how Noel Game Day came to what it was just running a Facebook, pretty much a Facebook fan page, giving you content and media. Nobody was doing that back then, but you've got to stay on pace with competition and what's new and what's on the trend. And Florida State is behind a lot, and that has to do with not giving chances to younger individuals running it. You obviously want to be smart, just can't be younger people putting them there, but they know 10 times more. A 14-year-old probably knows 10 times more than any 50-year-old does at an Instagram story, and how to lay it out beautifully with the soundtrack in the background and make it attractive and to get reach out there. It's just, there's got to be a big focus for that, I think, for Florida State moving forward. Of course, I think wins definitely helps more too. But money, I wouldn't be surprised if you start seeing Florida State maybe put some money more towards getting in guys or a staff that can really just solely focus on Florida State as a whole, because I think they're separated between FSU recruiting and then the FSU football pages and social media. It's all unorganized. There's got to be a fix. And in order to do that, you got to put some money towards it and be smart with your hires, and don't be lazy. Get with the game, or you'll get left behind. And I think Florida State's getting left behind really quickly. You can change that, though. You can change that very quickly, though, with just bringing in people that are talented enough. And I think Florida State, hopefully they can do that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
To that point, I was actually, whenever the Mike Norvell rumors were starting to heaten up, and the day of that conference championship, I made it a point to watch that game, and then also just checking out Memphis's social media after. And I was pretty impressed. I don't know who manages their social media off the top of my head, but whoever does it, I was pretty impressed with the amount of videos they were providing from the game, and then also some of the championship graphics they had drafted up to post after that win. So maybe Mike Norvell would tap into that connection and bring whoever that is with him to Tallahassee to spice up Florida State social media. We'll see, but they definitely need a reinvigoration there for sure.
That's certainly. Well, now that we're done with that and kind of going over the quick hitters and our decade questions and observations, let's get into this bowl game prep before we get into basketball, and then finishing off the podcast with trivia and our fun fact of the week. All right, so Florida State, I want to get y'all's thoughts heading into this game. Florida State's going to be facing Arizona State on Tuesday in the Sun Bowl in El Paso, Texas. The Noles arrived on Thursday. They had Topgolf last night. I think they visited the military base there in El Paso today. And Florida State actually has assistants there. Their 2019 assistants, Kendall Briles, for one of the names, your offensive coordinator, will be there coaching the game. So there's some good news there, maybe some positives to look at it for Florida State. But just initially, what are y'all's thoughts heading into this bowl game to start, hopefully, or to begin the new bowl game streak?
I have zero high hopes. No Cam Akers, no Kalen Laybourne, no Marvin Wilson, obviously no Kando would be. There's just no Nasruddin. There's just so many injuries to try and overcome, and offensive line still hasn't improved. I think it is very cool that these coaches that have gone on elsewhere are still here to coach the game with Briles, and I think Randy Clements is there as well. I think that's cool, and it shows a lot about their character as coaches, and hopefully it leaves an impact on these young student athletes. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be pretty for Florida State.
Yeah, this is certainly going to be a tough one. Obviously, going against Arizona State, a team that Herm Edwards has slowly been building up over the last couple seasons. I think we talked about it briefly on one of the most recent podcasts, but just that we thought Herm Edwards going in, everyone kind of made jokes about that hire and that he would probably be fired in a couple years. And instead, you see the Sun Devils steadily turning around under him and what he's building up there in Tempe. So I'm excited to see Florida State get to play a quality program in this bowl game. Not necessarily sure how it's going to work out with obviously all this coaching turnover, the dysfunction there with guys, now having different jobs, maybe being focused there a little bit, and then also not having any scholarship running backs. So it should be an exciting way to build up towards the new year.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, and we'll go over a lot of this. The main one, the running back situation is huge. Florida State is not going to have a scholarship back with James Blackman back there. We're expecting him to make the start, and Florida State's going to look to Deontay Sheffield. I know I think all of us on here, or I think Austin also brought up the idea of also having Gabe Neighbors there at running back and maybe in some few formations there. But now that having Kendall Briles there, though, kind of makes me feel a little bit more comfortable what Florida State might do. I think he's definitely one of the brightest, a very bright offensive coordinator, and the way that he creates plays that are pretty interesting. And plus, it's a bowl game. But I do think that he, like Austin was also saying, this is a very nice thing to see from these coaches coming here and coaching these players, because it also shows what kind of relationships they've built with the players. And I think Florida State, I do feel a little bit more better about this game than I did before, knowing these assistants are here. But that running back situation is they're going to have to figure out something, because I believe we heard some things during the season of having Trayshawn Harrison back there a few times, but he's currently in the transfer portal. I don't know if if he's with the team right now, practicing. Do you guys know?
I honestly, I don't know.
I hate the transfer portal thing, man. I mean, now you have to, reporters or someone's got to ask if they're there or not. I don't think we've gotten word on that, but if I was there, I would have asked that question if I can by now, because we were hearing stuff from practice through the year that Trayshawn Harrison was working a little bit with the running backs, so that'd probably be a good question, but maybe some people forgot that he's in the transfer portal. But right now, Deontay Sheffield, who is a walk-on, is going to be an expected starter. What do you think? And there are some rumors. I don't know if I can believe that. Maybe. I mean, it just depends on what he's going to be running. But DJ Matthews back there.
One thing I will say is Kendall Briles is going to figure it out. I mean, you think of that first game after Taggart going to BC. What does Florida State break out? They break out Jordan Travis, who out of nowhere has the best rushing game ever from a Florida State quarterback. So even though Florida State doesn't have any scholarship backs coming into this game, knowing Kendall Briles is going to be the play caller, I'm sure he has some wrinkles in his back pocket that he's going to use to get FSU some yards on the ground. Wouldn't surprise me to see maybe a double pass, a couple trick plays thrown in there, and then letting James Blackman really do the rest with his arm. So we'll see, but definitely a little bit more confident in Florida State having their offensive coordinator and also having Clements, because that was one thing I was worried about coming into this game, that they wouldn't have a full staff of assistants.
Yeah.
Yeah, having Briles back it's definitely easier on these players, and they have coaches that they're familiar with coaching in this game, and they have coaches that are familiar with them and how to use them. Whether that's using Trayshawn or whoever in the backfield, who knows? But I do agree with Dustin. I think Jordan Travis is going to get a lot of burn in this game, so he can get some yards on the ground that others wouldn't be able to find. And I also agree there will be some trick plays to be found in this game. This is Going to be balls to the wall for pretty much the entire Florida State roster and their staff.
So y'all aren't saying that Harlan Barnett also being there is not a big impact?
It's a big impact for Arizona State because they're just going to dice up FSU's defense.
It's not like he's been there all season anyways. Doesn't look like it.
No, Herm Edwards is coming in this game 7-5. Florida State also 6-6. Odell Higgins is 2-1 right now under the season. How are y'all feeling about Odell Higgins here? This is most likely going to be his last interim head coaching role, and how big this plays a role for Florida State. You know, seems like he's a big guy, we know, in the locker room, and he says a lot of things, but do you think he might go and get a chance here at a 3-1 record to end off his interim head coaching role at Florida State?
I think a 3-1 would be a massive success for him, considering what he took over and some of the opponents he's played in Florida and now Arizona State, who's been a good Oregon team this year. Mm-hmm. So I think going 3-1 would be a huge success for Coach Higgins, and I'm glad he's staying on Coach Norvell's staff, and hopefully he'll continue to stay on the staff for a long time.
Yeah, I'm all in for 6-1 Dell until it doesn't happen. So, I love seeing Odell coach Florida State. I remember being able to go to the first game that he was ever an interim coach back in 2017 after Jimbo Fisher's departure to Texas A&M, and just the passion he spoke with at the press conference. I mean, you can tell how much Odell lives and breathes Florida State, how much he bleeds garnet and gold. I mean, like I said it whenever we were talking about coaching candidates, but whoever was going to be Florida State's next head coach, Odell Higgins comes with the house. So, I mean,
yeah,
until Odell wants to retire, he's going to be on this staff. And, I mean, we'll welcome him back every year.
Yeah, that furniture stays with the house, most certainly. It does. Good news for Florida State here. Arizona's top running back and wide receiver are going to be out for the game. Running back Eno Benjamin, who was running for 1,080 or had 1,083 yards, 10 touchdowns, and going to be without them. And wide receiver Brandon Ayuk. I'm terrible with last names or names in general, but Brandon Ayuk, he is at 65 catches on the season, 1,192 yards, and 8 touchdowns. And that's literally 595 more yards than their second best wide receiver. So obviously that's a hit on Arizona State's offense. You got to think, man, Harlan Barnett, this is your chance, man. This is your chance. This is your chance. And the thing is, Florida State, it's so tough, though, because Florida State is going to be without Hamza Nasruddin, who's the best defensive player on Florida State's, who was on Florida State's active roster. Marvin Wilson.
I thought that was Dontavius Jackson.
Oh, man. Just coming in with the jokes. My bad. I did say that wrong. Dontavius Jackson, who's currently preparing right now for
the NFL. Couldn't play in this game.
Yeah, exactly. Which never mind. We already talked about that. And now I guess it just says, like, if I were to be on Florida State's team and on defense, I mean, I feel like I would talk to him afterwards and say, you know what? Never mind.
Well, Stanford Samuels is sitting out this game as well.
Yeah. I think Dontavius Jackson is even a sillier move on his part. Maybe Stanford Samuels might have something. Maybe he could say the coaching wasn't there, which I could give him some respect to, maybe with Harlan Barnett being your guy. But
yeah, but I mean, if you think about it, you're down Hamza Nasruddin, you're down Stanford Samuels, you're down Marvin Wilson,
Jaden Woodby.
You're down Dontavius Jackson if you want to count him, Jaden Woodby, Joshua Kando. I mean, just so many. I mean, some of those guys were talented, but some talented guys missing time. And, I mean, Florida State's defense has obviously been pretty terrible all season, defending the pass, linebackers, defensive backs. It hasn't really mattered. And now they're going to have to tap into the depth behind those guys that were already pretty bad. So Hopefully the young guys step up. That's what I hope to see. Akeem Dent catch a freaking pick.
It'll probably come your way.
Hey, if he catches an interception this game, I will streak.
If he catches an interception, Alex Hornibrook's getting drafted.
Oh, wow.
Jeez. You're really going to risk that on yourself. I'll tell you what.
I'm not putting money on it.
Oh, okay. Keep an eye on Dennis Briggs this game as we're talking about the defense and how hard it's been hit with injuries. I'd like to see Dennis Briggs have a pretty interesting
Dennis Briggs,
game.
Man.
I do, just because what I've seen in the stadium, watching him play and the effort that he gives. And he's made some plays this year. And I think he'll have an incredible season next year. But I also was big on Asante Samuel last year. And I thought he'd have a great year, and he's had a great one this year. So I do have some pretty good guesses on players. So it might be Dennis Briggs, who I project to have a pretty good year next year. But for this game, at least, I think I would keep an eye on that guy. I think he might have some potential. It sits at 6'4", 269. Look for number 58 to make some plays. And also, you know what? God damn it! Just fuck up somebody, Janarius Robinson. My
mama not gonna like that.
I know. I speak with J-Rob, and I've had some time with him. And I think he should just say, damn it, I know I'm coming back next year, but you know what, how about we end it off and get some hype heading into next season? How about he have just a big game and say, screw it all. He is an absolute monster. We played against him during my high school years. And he has a different size than me. I look like a baseball player. He looks like a football player. He has the size of an NFL player, but he should just manhandle some kids and during this game. And I just hope he has a good game. I still think Dennis Briggs is gonna be a name to watch out for. But Asante Samuel and Dennis Briggs. But you know what? Damn it, Janarius, just fucking slap. No, don't say slash someone's neck open, but.
That's a Dontavius Jackson move right there.
Is it?
Yeah, bro, breaking people's necks in the pile.
Oh, damn.
But a guy I want to see continue to stand out is Amari Gaynor. I mean, he's had a respectable redshirt freshman season, and he should just continue to grow as his body continues to build. I mean, he's still really a guy that needs to add on some more strength and bulk. And, you know, hopefully with Josh Storm's probably coming over from Memphis, he can do that this offseason and take another step forward next year. So Amari Gaynor is going to be the next monster linebacker at Florida State.
Wow. What about the young linebackers like Jaleel McRae?
Yeah, I mean, Jaleel McRae, Kalen DeLoach, they all have a lot of potential. I don't think we really got to see their true freshman years utilized as much as they could have been, just because of the question marks with Harlon Barnett's coaching, and then even to an extent,
switching it around, yeah.
To an extent, Raymond Woody as well. I mean, as much as we've talked about how good he's been on the recruiting trail, the linebackers in particular have been pretty bad in that defense outside of Amari Gaynor. So I guess next year with a new linebackers coach, I'm excited to see if they rebound. And I mean, these guys are really highly recruited guys, so they definitely have talent, and they just have to be developed like any true freshman.
Yeah, and you know, heading into next season too, you know, it seems like the defense, of course, right now it's just been bombshelled with injuries, but you bring back a lot of guys that are true starters and very talented, and you hope that some of these guys should be put into their correct positions. Hint, Jaden Lars would be. And one guy that I'm really excited for that we didn't get to see whatsoever, and I'm pretty pissed off about it, is Travis Jay. He's been dealing with academic issues, but I feel like that tandem with Akeem Dent and Travis Jay is going to be stupid nasty, and I'm excited for him to come. Hopefully, just he's dealing with academic stuff that's holding him up from high school, and I think a little bit of college, but having him back, I think will be something to look forward to defensively, and of course, the new young guys coming in.
And Travis Jay, to me, he's got a little bit of Greg Reed in him. That's who he reminds me of. Just a electric athlete, a guy that can knock you out on defense despite being a little bit smaller, and then can also help out in other areas. I mean, Travis Jay played quarterback, running back, wide receiver at his high school, return kicks and punts. So I think at Florida State, whenever he is finally eligible to play and stuff, I think we'll definitely see him as a punt returner, a kick returner, and a guy who can just get the offense in a good field position in the blink of an eye, kind of like Greg Reed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that comparison because obviously,
a shifty athlete.
Yeah, and he's also I just love bad motherfuckers, man, that just hit somebody and talk shit. And as long as you're not getting penalized, but just be nasty, let them know that you're going to do it again if they come your way. That's what Greg Reed did. I mean, I loved it. Timmy Jernigan did the same way. You come my way, I'm gonna say a few things to you, and you're just a piece of shit. And I love it. I loved it. I love that stuff.
Plus, I mean, you just know anyone coming from Madison County is going to be ready to knock you out. I mean, just thinking back, Jacoby McDaniel, Chris Thompson, both came from Madison County, both went through Florida State, both made it to NFL. So, I mean, really, it's just an area that's Travis J would have been a 5-star if he played in Miami, but because he played in Madison County, under-recruited area, a rural area that not a lot of scouts get out to. I mean, this is a guy that might have been the most underrated recruit in the country in his class last year.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, bowl game wise here, if we want to get into some predictions now we're over a little bit hour of the podcast. This one's interesting to me. This is just a 2:00 game. This is New Year's Eve in El Paso, Texas. James Blackman is going to be expected to throw the ball, and Kendall Briles is going to have to coach one of his most creative games that he's probably ever called with the lack of guys around Blackman. This is also a big game for Tamaron Terry, and if he wants to go pro or not, and if he wants to make a decision after this game, if he has a good game or not, I don't know whatever he's going to expect to do. What he's going to base this off of, but a big game for him, and this is where you could see James Blackman and Terry light it up like they've done a few times during their careers at Florida State. But as a whole, this is also a big game for both offense and defense and players showing out and showing off for the incoming coaching staff that is going to be watching this game. I wouldn't be surprised if you see Coach Norvell make the trip there to watch, and maybe the head assistants. And they're going to want to show out, and that's why I'm looking at Janarius Robinson, man. Show out for Adam Fuller and your incoming position coach and other guys like that on both offense and defense. But this is an interesting game. I don't think a lot of people are expecting Florida State to win just because of the situation. Also, Cam Akers, their main source of scoring points and getting down the field, is not going to be on the turf on Tuesday. But it's going to be one of those. I love saying interesting. I got to stop saying that, but it's going to be an interesting game. I've learned that I say interesting a lot. I say that in a lot of things. But this is an interesting podcast because it's our last one. So maybe in 2020 I'll stop saying it so much. I need to find another word. I need to go to synonym.com.
Cinnamon.com.
Cinnamon.com.
Cinnamon.com sounds great.
Yeah, I hope I'm not doing that. But yeah, let's go ahead and give our game prediction. This is our last game preview and our last game predictions of the year. I'm pretty sure Dustin's going to win it because I screwed myself up with picking what friggin' Fisher did. That was so stupid. That created my downfall.
10-2, baby.
I was doing so well. I think I was above both you and Fisher at one point, and then I screwed myself over, and here I am. But we'll give the crown to Dustin this year. I think I'm 2 below him or something, maybe 3. I don't know.
Austin's in front of you. Yeah.
Well, he wasn't here for the first half, so he's limited.
Oh wow!
Still the rookie.
I was here for the
whole season.
Oh yeah, was it really?
Yeah. Man, come on, boss. What you doing?
Oh, I'm losing my mind.
I feel hurt.
I feel like Fisher was here a lot longer than that. I guess he was for the start of the year in January. That's what I'm thinking. Well, just wait till I give my predictions for basketball. Wait till that happens.
We're 12 games in.
I'll catch up. All right, let's give our game prediction scores here. Is Florida State going to have a winning record or a losing record in 2019? Who wants to take it first?
Losing record. By a lot. I'm saying 38-17 Arizona State.
Whoa! Wow. Why?
Any comments on that?
I think there's too much for Florida State to overcome, whether it's injuries or bowl prep or suspensions, if you want to count that. I think there's way too much to overcome with all the coaching turnover, roster turnover. Arizona State's losing their two biggest playmakers, and I have zero high hopes.
I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I flip flopped over the last hour.
Oh yeah.
I went from
Wow.
I went from thinking Arizona State was gonna win this game. Now my prediction is Florida State 38, Arizona 34, in a high-scoring game in El Paso.
Wow.
I have a chance to tie it up. Okay.
Huh. That's interesting.
I'm hanging it all out to dry.
What are we going to do if we tie at the end?
Fight you in real life.
Great.
Jeez, why's it got to be physical, Dustin?
That's how we settle a tiebreaker where I'm from.
You're from a
Tallahassee,
weird
you
place.
do that?
Yeah.
I haven't done that yet. I haven't really done that.
Then you haven't lived, my friend, until you've smacked a man in the face.
Oh, yeah?
Whew. I don't know where you're
Smacked
going with that.
man? I've never smacked a man. No, I don't do that.
To get away from this, I've got Florida State 38-34. I think we're going to see James Blackman really have a great game in this one. I think we'll see Kendall Briles call a great game, considering he's heading out after this one. I think he's going to want to leave on a high note. And then defensively, I think Florida State catches a big break with Eno Benjamin and also Brandon Ayuk both declaring early for the NFL draft and deciding to sit out this game. I mean, the rest of Arizona State's rushers have combined for 154 attempts for 432 yards and just 4 touchdowns. And, I mean, the majority of that is from Jaden Daniels, who has 319 of those rushing yards and 3 of the touchdowns. So, really, all of the guys behind Eno Benjamin at running back are extremely unproven. Ayuk, Logan, you mentioned the stat where he has almost 600 more yards than their second leading receiver. They do have Frank Darby, who has 8 touchdowns this year to match Ayuk, but their receiving core is a little bit limited. Arizona State, their offense has been up and down on the year. They've scored just 25.2 points a game, which is 94th in the country. Florida State has scored 29.1, 66th in the country. And Florida State's offense has struggled this year. So you can just imagine how the Sun Devils have played a little bit. And the best thing about their team is their defense. And if Florida State can put up some points, then I definitely can see them pulling away in this game. Well, not pulling away, but pulling out the win in this game. Definitely going to be a close one. So I've got 38-34. Might be a little bit lower scoring than that, but I don't know. We'll see. Nice New Year's gift for Florida State fans.
Yep. So then they can go party and drink it up, right? Or am I just talking to myself?
To each their own. I'll have a nice vegetable tray.
Right.
And some pubic hair.
What?
Okay.
I'm out.
Wait a second. So
some fast food, guys.
You're gonna have Whataburger. Okay, that could have gone a lot of ways, and I don't know. And a vegetable tray, I can think also of another object.
You cut the carrots up. You don't grab the whole thing.
Anyways, I'm gonna go Florida State. You know what? This game is going to be closer than I thought, just because now Kendall Briles and the coaching assistants will be there. A majority of 2019 assistants, if not all, will be there in attendance. I don't think Arizona State's offense should play as well as it should, but this is Florida State's defense, and this is Harlan Barnett's defense, I should say. And so they probably will play well, and they probably will score points, which will be the deciding factor in this game. I do actually feel pretty positive, even though Cam Akers will not be there, that they can get something going. And James Blackman, I do trust that he should be able to play the ball throw the ball pretty nicely. I do think Tamarion Terry and DJ Matthews will have a decent game. I think Tamarion Terry is going to want to get some one-on-one situations. I wouldn't be surprised if Kendall Browse wants to help him out a little bit, maybe put him into the NFL draft conversation by giving him some one-on-one opportunities to make grabs, and that will be a deciding factor for him. But defensively, I think it's just going to be so tough. I think it will be a very close scoring game, in my opinion, other than what Austin predicted. I'm going to go Florida State. I'm going to go Florida State 17, Arizona State 24.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is kind of low scoring.
Yeah.
I think an underrated key in this game is going to be turnovers, because you look at Jaden Daniels. He's thrown 310 passes this year and just 2 interceptions. He's a true freshman. Really doing a great job of taking care of the ball. So as long as Blackman and the offense can not turn it over a lot, then I think they're going to have a really good shot.
Yeah, turnovers will play a big key also, I believe. And it's just going to really depend on if Florida State can block well enough. Shoot. I mean, I know and that's the tough thing about this too is I think offensively a secret weapon. I know I picked Briggs, but I'd go Gabe Neighbors here. I know we had him. He might help out in the back end with Blackman back there, but he would help significantly if Florida State's going to be trying to throw that ball. Deontay Sheffield is not big enough to block some of these guys. You got to put Gabe Neighbors back there, who was initially a fullback during his time at Florida State. He was most recently moved to a tight end under Walt Bell and Willie Taggart's offense, and still at tight end. I think he plays a vital role both at tight end and catching passes, but also in blocking in this game. I think he's going to have a very, very busy day in El Paso, Texas. Make sure we get this man some Gator. Ooh, Powerade. I even thought about it before I said it. How stupid can you get? It is 12:45 though in the morning, but I did sleep until like 1:00 p.m. Eastern time today.
Must be nice.
Well, I rarely get to do that. Don't even try me.
Yeah, Gabe should be huge, blocking wise. He'll probably carry it on the ground a couple of times, and then he'll probably catch a few through the air. So, yeah, he'll really be a multifaceted threat in this game against Arizona State. And plus, just being able to, he's probably FSU's most physical offensive skill position player, I would say, when it comes to blocking. I mean, Arizona State, they've only got 22 total sacks this year, but still, anything you can get to help out this offensive line a little bit and just give them even a second more of blocking time can only help out.
Well, I think that's going to do it for our final game preview of the season. We actually made it through with one another to survive doing that.
Wow.
I think that, we did a pretty good job, I feel like. This has been a long podcast. I mean, this is the last podcast, too. You got to do it big, right? If you're going to do it then, do it big then. That was also my motto through this whole decade. If you're going to do it then, do it big then. By Jay Boozy.
Cool.
Y'all know that was his real nickname, right? In the locker room. Jay Boozy, because Lil Boozy, that was one of his favorite rappers, and then Jay Boo was what he was called too, but you mix it together and it's Jay Boozy. So that's what they called him.
Good enough.
I hope that's your. Yeah, that's what I was.
What happened? What did you say?
I hope that's your fun fact. Hope it's coming early tonight.
No, that's not it. I'm really worried about it. We might just give it to you from now on. We give it to you to do fun facts. Anyways,
I wouldn't recommend that.
We're gonna do it just because
you don't want to drink up anymore.
Or never mind, eat up. So Dustin's picking the Noles here. Me and Austin are picking Arizona State. I feel like I'm doing something stupid again, where Florida State, like Blackman's gonna have a great game. So I'm just putting this in the podcast now, so I can go back and talk about it. That I thought, maybe I was making the wrong choice, but I'm still gonna pick Arizona State here in this game. Yeah. Well, y'all want to get into basketball talk or get y'all's wake up Austin a little bit, since he said he was falling asleep. He was going to fall asleep earlier. Maybe he'll wake up now. And, once you hear the word basketball, Austin just springs up, just like whenever he gets off shift at McDonald's.
God.
I just go back to sleep. I like sleeping better.
Did y'all get a new grease fryer for Christmas up there?
Hey, Fisher, if you're listening, we need
Come
you back
back.
'cause I need the Mississippi jokes back.
Jesus Christ.
Oh man. Good times. Hey, y'all got
At
me
least
here.
the Mississippi jokes are true.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why I do this. I'm just mean. I'm mean. But don't worry, y'all get on to me. Not even when we're not on the podcast, I get ripped apart. It's mean. Hurts my feelings.
All right, well,
All right.
let's move
Yeah.
from that to talking basketball
Get that. I need to go get some
for
water
a
and
couple
some more.
minutes. Florida State hasn't played since before Christmas, their last game. A little bit closer than expected victory against South Florida, where they played great defense down the stretch to thankfully pull out a win in that one before having a couple days off. Austin, any thoughts on that close win against South Florida before we talk about North Alabama?
Yeah, that USF game was just ugly from start to almost finish. The last 6 minutes were a defensive masterpiece. I really want to go back and watch those 6 minutes and see exactly what they were doing. I just haven't had the time yet. But yeah, the offensive struggles are for sure concerning. Hopefully this next game against North Alabama, they'll be able to bounce back a little bit offensively.
Yeah, North Alabama coming into the Tucker Center Saturday at 2 o'clock. Hopefully this podcast is published before then and you're listening to it right now. But they will take on North Alabama, who Austin, I believe last week you said they've only been a D1 program for 2 years.
Yes, this is their second season.
Yeah, so North Alabama in their second season as a D1 program. They're 5-7 right now. They do have a common opponent with Florida State and Indiana, who North Alabama lost to by 36 points. Most recently, they're on a 2-game losing streak right now. They've lost consecutive road games at UAB and at Alabama A&M. So this is really a game coming off of Christmas. Florida State, maybe they come out of the gate a little bit slow, but I don't see them winning this game by anything less than 20 points.
Yeah, the spread opened at 24.5. And a little preview into my preview article, I expect them to cover by at least 28 to 30. North Alabama they're seriously not good at anything. Looking at their stats, I hate to be harsh, but the only thing they're above average at is opponent 3-point percentage. Literally, there's nothing else they're even average at except free throw attempts, but they're only shooting 66%, so it doesn't matter. They're just not a good team, and that's what you expect from a team that's only in their second season, full-time Division I. But yeah, I'm not expecting much from this game. I do agree with you. I think Florida State might come out a little rusty, especially after the Christmas break, and they just got back to Tallahassee 2 or 3 days ago. So getting back in the flow of practice and getting back running up and down the floor. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they come out a little rusty, but I still expect a 28 to 30-point win.
Yeah, and the Lions, they're not like some of these other mid-major teams that we saw come through Tallahassee in December that could really just get hot at any point from outside and just start hitting threes. They're shooting just 31.9% from deep. Maybe guard Christian Agnew gets hot. He's their second leading scorer. He's shooting 42.4% from outside, but he's only taken 33 shots from deep on the season. So, I mean, we'll see. This is really just a game where Florida State defensively should dominate. Alabama State averages 14.7 turnovers per game. You have to think going up against an elite defense like the Seminoles have that they'll probably struggle more than usual. So we might see those turnovers get kicked up to 20 or so, just like South Florida last game, where really Florida State just turned them over so many times. And as good of an offensive performance as they had in the first half, it didn't matter because they had 24, 25 turnovers.
Yeah, North Alabama's, they start 3 guards, 6'2" and under, one of them being 5'9", 170 pounds. They're gonna have wide eyes seeing Trent Forrest and Devin Vassell and MJ Walker in these passing lanes and guarding them 94 feet. I expect at least 20 turnovers. I really do.
Yeah. So really, this is one that Florida State should handle pretty easily. And then the Seminoles move into their next game, which will actually be played a little bit before FSU football's bowl game on Tuesday. Florida State will take on Georgia Tech at home at noon on ESPNU, and that'll be the third conference game for Florida State this season.
Yeah, going on the road to Atlanta. Georgia Tech's a weird team.
No,
man.
it's at home. It's at home.
Oh, it is at home?
Yeah.
My bad then.
You're
Yeah, but Georgia Tech's just a weird team. Like I've said a few times, the bottom fourth of the ACC just needs to be cut off, and Georgia Tech's part of that bottom fourth. They're allowing more points than they're scoring, which should never happen for an ACC team that's coming out of non-conference play. And they're usually very good defensively. Josh Pastner has this really weird defense. I don't even know how to describe it. It's sort of a 1-1-3, sort of a 1-3-1. Florida State's had struggles with it in the past, but they've still come out on top. Looking at some of their past results, they've lost to Syracuse by 34. They've lost to Kentucky by just 14, so that's not too bad. But then the next time out, they lost to Ball State by 18. And then they just lost to Houston by 11 last week. So we'll see. I don't think Georgia Tech's very good. I don't think they're much better than some of these mid-majors Florida State's been playing. I think they're right there with USF. And yeah, the USF game was ugly, but that's not to say I don't think we're a much better team than they are.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, this is another game where Florida State, at minimum, should win by 15 points or so. I mean, Georgia Tech, they do have three players averaging double figures. Obviously, you have guard Michael DeVoe, 17.8 points a game, 3.8 rebounds, 3 assists, 1.4 steals, and he's shooting 41.1% from outside. So he's carrying the Yellow Jackets. They also have forward Moses Wright. I'll correct it for you, Austin. 12.8 points, 7.8 rebounds, 1.3 blocks, and he's shooting 57.1% from the field. So those two guys are carrying the offensive load, and that's probably a big reason why Georgia Tech is still 6-6 right now. I mean, they could honestly be a little worse without those two guys in the lineup.
Yeah, and their true big, James Banks III, is a great shot blocker, blocking 3 shots a game. They've had some depth concerns with Jose Alvarado and Jordan Usher, 2 of their better players, only playing 5 and 4 games respectively.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see if they play against Florida State, and if they don't, I would expect Florida State to win by a lot more. If they do play, I really think it's going to be in the single digits, just because of how bad these teams are offensively. I could see it being a 63-56 kind of game.
And I'm honestly, I'm trying to look it up real quick before I say anything. But James Banks, I remember him from some reason from last year when Florida State played at Georgia Tech. I can't remember why. Can't remember if it was because he was good or really bad.
Yeah, he's a pretty good player. They've had a few good bigs last few years, none to make the league, but they had another guy. He wasn't a true big. He was more of a stretch forward. He's some white guy that wore number 44, and he tore us up. I forget his name, but he was a good player. And for some reason, they always have one really good player, and then the rest of the roster just sucks.
Yeah, like Josh Okaji comes to mind.
Yeah, and this year they're a little more balanced, but they don't have anyone that can take over that scoring. DeVoe and Moses Wright are great players, don't get me wrong. And DeVoe is definitely the one to look out for, but Jose Alvarado has been the one that's carried them in the past. So we'll see how that turns out for them.
Yeah, so really this is just a team not quite talented enough across their overall roster to compete in the ACC, struggled a lot in the non-conference schedule, and following what should be a comfortable win over North Alabama, I expect Florida State to also win this one pretty handily before they get tested in that Louisville road game shortly after the first of the year, which we'll preview in our first podcast of 2020.
I'm looking forward to that. That should be a fun podcast.
Logan,
all basketball nerds done?
We got away quick. We said we would.
Logan, if you don't have
I
any comments,
I know. I was gonna say though. I know there's some. I think there's some new FSU basketball podcasts out there too, and I haven't really listened to it. But I don't know how you'll know all this kind of jazz about these teams. Definitely the little teams and all that kind of stuff can put out stats like that. But it's pretty impressive. So I'm just gonna say it. Very good job. Very good job. I learn every time.
The internet's an amazing thing. You should look it up sometime.
for real.
I was being nice, but now maybe I won't give a shit about listening anymore while you are doing that. I was trying to give y'all some hype there, but oh well. I'm gonna go back to listen to my other favorite FSU basketball podcasts.
Wake Up War Chant.
No comment. Well, I think we go to one of our favorite segments. Not our best, but one of our favorite segments, FSU Trivia. This is going to end off the year here. This was just a short little tryout segment, but I think we'll keep it. Our FSU Hear the Spear Trivia. Austin currently leads 3-1. I don't think Dustin...
3-2. I'll give Dustin his credit. 3-2.
I would say 3-2. So the situation here is that if Dustin does win tonight, we go to overtime, fellas, and we will declare a champion tonight. There will be a champion declared tonight.
Wow.
So this could get interesting. I don't know what the champion is going to get or receive.
I was about to say, what do we get?
For you, a McDonald's gift card.
Fucking hell.
But I was going to say that's probably not good enough for you because you get a discount. So already important. Dustin is the one that laughs the most out of them. So
because it's just so stupid.
But funny, obviously. Anyways, let's jump right into it because some of these have lasted way too long than they should have ever had. Here we go. Question number 1. How many conference titles has Florida State won?
We're saying like overall.
Just the conference title.
Program history.
Yep, conference titles.
I'll go with. Are we just football, right?
Yep, just football.
All right, I'll say 17.
And answer is 18.
Oh my god!
And so close there, Dustin. It seems like your guessing luck from last week isn't turning out so well.
I was close though.
He was close.
You were. Let's do this one right here. How many unclaimed national titles has Florida State achieved? I guess you can't say achieved, but how many national championships have they not claimed in total?
5.
Have they not claimed?
Yes. So that means losing in them.
Oh. 3?
But they didn't win?
Yeah.
We have a winner in the first season of the Hear the Spear FSU Trivia. It's going to be Austin V. Comes in.
I actually knew that too.
Yep. He knows 1980, 1987, 1992, 1994, and 1996.
Wow.
Are the 5. Austin VZ wins. Dustin, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think you need to spend the...
I deserve a recount.
No, you don't. No, maybe you were too focused on finding us the fun fact. But Austin, let's talk with the winner here, the champion, the rookie. What do you have to say?
First of all, I would like to thank my parents, who are both Florida State graduates and brainwashing me since I was a child.
There you go.
I would like to thank my good luck cat, who I'm scratching right now. And I would like to thank my 4-year degree from Florida State University for helping me.
Your cat pisses on your bed again.
It's the other cat. We're good.
Oh man. Man, see, Dustin, all it takes is just scratching pussy during FSU trivia.
Jesus Christ.
Good man. What'd I say wrong?
It's better than your eat up / drink up last week.
Exactly. I feel like I can say a lot of things now and not even hit that mark. And I love how you're the one that says, Jesus Christ. Like he didn't say
I
what you
wasn't
did last week.
expecting it.
Oh man. Well, yeah, that's all Austin had to do. And look at him. He is a champion in the first season of FSU Hear the Spear Trivia. Definitely a big hitting segment that we just introduced. We started doing a lot of new things this year, so I think we'll keep this one on the table. We'll see if Fisher will want to get to play to it whenever time slows down for him or things slow down for him. Anyways, it's fun facts night. This is our last fun facts segment too. Like we said last week, we've seen a 0.01% increase in listens since we started it. So there's only
0.1.
Yeah, that means that we should most certainly keep continuing it. It seems like Austin's also scratching his microphone. You would think,
this is my least favorite segment.
Yeah, so he's getting nervous. He's sweating. It's 1 a.m. officially right now going into the segment, so God knows where this could go. Dustin just had his veggies about an hour ago. So.
I also just found the link you used for all your freaking facts.
Did you?
Yeah, these are both facts you used in the last podcast. I'm reading right now.
If you can guess his next fact, Logan actually has to buy a microphone. You have a backup one now.
But if I say which one he's gonna say, then he won't say it.
I don't even know what this bet is.
Well, if I pick the right fun fact, then that means I actually win trivia, all right?
No. It's not get crazy.
Wait, was that Austin's first cuss word?
Did he cuss?
What? I didn't.
Yeah, I thought you said you're fucking crazy.
I said no.
Said. Oh, I was so hoping we'd have ours in our last.
What do you mean first cuss word?
I don't think you've cussed at all on this podcast.
I mean, I have, but that's fine. Thanks for paying attention to me, Logan. I appreciate
it. I mean, he didn't know when you joined No Game Day.
Yeah.
He doesn't respect you. It's clear.
Yeah, seriously.
You're lucky you won the trivia. I can't imagine what kind of jokes he would have had for you if you'd have lost. Like he's not even making fun of me. And I mean, I'm retarded.
I'm not like that. You are being silly.
Where's my McDonald's joke?
I should give it to you. Honestly. Anyways, do you have any of your fun facts that you can give us, Dustin, to really end off the listeners in a great way for Hear the Spear and really put some great memories in their head? This awesome season that we've done on here. Remember, this is a 0.01 increase, 0.01% increase in listens, and Austin's still rubbing off his mic like it's a scratching pad.
Scratching my eye.
Okay.
You don't want to start us off, Logan? I mean, normally you get things going, and then I just spice it up.
Okay, spice it up like that.
Trying to find something pretty fucked up.
Oh, great. Perfect. All right, well, I guess I can start off with one. Let's see. Well, this is a good one for me because I have peanut butter almost every day. The FDA allows a rodent hair per 100 grams in peanut butter.
What?
That's disgusting.
Wait, say that again?
The FDA allows a rodent hair per 100 grams in peanut butter.
Oh, well, yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
So I eat it like a
if you look up some of that stuff, they allow some pretty nasty shit. Like you can have like a certain amount of roach legs and chips or something.
Inuit mothers suck the mucus out of their baby's nose from their mouth.
Oh.
What the fuck?
What kind of mothers?
Inuit.
What is that?
Eskimo. Right? I think, yeah.
I think so.
Pretty sure it's Eskimo.
That's cool.
That's nasty. That's disgusting.
I mean, you just have to imagine it's like eating oysters. I mean, you just down that shit.
Oh.
Put some hot sauce on it.
Putting hot sauce in your kid's nose?
You gotta do what you can. Unless it's, I mean, I don't I don't know how they consume it. I'm just
Here's another. This is a cool.
Better.
Yeah. Banana slug's penis grows out of its head. So if you think about that, when they're having sex, they're like headbutting. Imagine using your head during sexual orientation, Dustin.
Well, it just makes me wonder: is the other slug's like vagina on its head? Like
they're just like giving. Never
you
mind.
have that fact?
I don't know. I do not have that one, but I was gonna say it's like I guess they're actually giving head.
Jesus.
I was thinking it. I wasn't going to say it.
Yeah, Austin didn't want to do it. His parents are listening.
Oh, no, never mind.
Well, Dustin, you're really gonna let down the crowd here, huh? On the last one of the year, huh?
I mean, I guess I can give you this one if you really want to hear it.
I mean, I want to hear it for the content. I don't know if I want to hear this to remember.
I don't have a good pun for after the fact, but I mean, it's just something to picture.
Okay. Well, I mean, yeah.
In much the same way that everyone has their own fingerprints and retinal patterns, every anus is unique. So just remember that tonight, boys and girls. You are unique inside and for what comes out of it.
Boys and girls, why can't you say men and women? Because this is over. This is a mature.
That's true. Podcast. That's true. Men and women. Boys and girls, you should not be here. Get the fuck out.
Yeah, boys and girls just sounds a little creepy, Dustin.
Hey, it's 2019, bro.
So you're saying that your brown eye really is your brown eye. It's really interesting, huh? You haven't tested that yet, Dustin, have you?
No, I mean, they have the semen database, so they need to make the shit database. We'll be able to catch all the criminals at that point.
Oh no!
Will we? Will we though?
The ones that matter.
I don't know what that's supposed to mean.
I don't know either.
Hey, me neither.
Well, I don't know if that's the one that we should end it off on. I think it might be, because that was just really just freaky, and the way that you said boys and girls was really creepy too. Because this is a mature podcast, and only men and women should be listening. But yeah, is that it? Is that it, Dustin? Because I think I don't have one either. We need to make sure that we get at least 5 ready every podcast. That should be the main part of getting ready for every episode.
I mean, if you really want another one, I guess I can.
Let's just go ahead and do it. It's the end of the year. Let's go ahead and throw it out there.
All right. Fuck it.
Yeah.
The average speed of ejaculation is 48 miles per hour.
Wait, the speed of it is?
Yeah, bro.
Like what? Like where at? Like
in the face.
What? The speed of ejaculation is like the speed of my face?
It hits you in the face hard.
Okay.
I'm just saying, it shoots out of there, bro.
It does. It does. That's enough. I think that's enough. I think we found out what category Dustin focuses on when he finds fun facts. I find some.
I told you I'm trying to find weird stuff.
Well, we've officially done that.
Like, here we go. Ancient Egyptians used dried crocodile dung as a contraceptive for its spermicidal properties. So that means they use shit as a condom. So that's cool.
What in the hell?
Crocodile shit specifically.
Not any other shit, but crocodile shit. Wow, interesting. You learn something new every week, too. That's a good thing about it. They're fun facts. Sometimes they'll be funny. Sometimes they'll be not so funny. Sometimes they'll just be straight up creepy, like Dustin's boys and girls joke earlier.
I didn't make a boys and girls joke.
He said it afterwards. It was just creepy. So this podcast will be probably shut down heading into next year. So
Men have 11 erections per day on average. So
what? 11?
That's what it says.
Men have 11 or what? How? How? How do you do? I would honestly need to know how. Anyway,
it's the average between adults and also teenagers, which
teenagers.
Hey,
what? Okay, yeah. We need to stop because we're going to get in trouble. But anyways, I think that's going to end it off for this episode. Our 32nd episode is coming to an end. Thank you guys so much for listening. It's been an incredible year recording, and I know I've enjoyed my time with both Dustin, Fisher, and Austin here. It's been great to talk sports with them, have the guests on that have had incredible interviews, and we've learned so much. We've enjoyed starting up some new segments, obviously, with these two also that has started with the fun facts and FSU trivia. We've been playing around a lot, and I think we're really set for next year, and I'm excited. Hello to all the YouTube viewers and listeners, Spotify, everyone that the podcast goes out to. We really appreciate you guys coming on here.
Appreciate y'all keeping up with our bullshit.
Yeah. Thanks for your support. I don't know why you choose this podcast over other ones, but we appreciate you.
Yes, we do. And shout out to you guys that also tweeted us saying that you were still listening. There's a shout out to you guys that did that. Appreciate you, Brian, Tom, Michelle, Richard. A lot of people tweet us. They said they're actually still listening. Brandon. But yeah, thank you guys so much. We will see you guys in 2020. If you're listening on iTunes, feel free to rate us 5 stars and leave a review. It really helps a lot with growing the podcast and getting out to other FSU listeners out there. Also, if you're on YouTube, make sure to subscribe and press the bell notification on there because you'll be alerted every time a new episode is published on that platform. And if you're on Twitter, make sure you follow us at Hear the Spear. You can tweet us, and maybe if you have any questions, we'll answer them on the show. But yeah, this is Logan Robinson from Noel Game Day signing off. The 3rd season is officially over. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we are excited for next year. We'll see where it takes us. Y'all have a great rest of y'all's weekend.